that is Dashavida Pariksha in Panchakarma. This is a very wide session because each and every Pariksha has got its own importance and depth in Panchakarma practices. And while coming to Dashavida Pariksha, the session Dashavida Pariksha, this is one of the cardinal feature that we have to come across in each and every clinical case takings and also in the research fields. So when we are coming to the Dashavida Pariksha, there are two aspects or two views of Dashavida Pariksha which we commonly follow. That is one about the Dashavida Pariksha that is followed by Acharya Vagbada, where he sees dosham, dushyam, phalam, kalam, analam, pragradim, vayam. Sattvam, satvam, tadha, aharam, avastacha, pradakvida. That is, these are the 10 factors which has to be analyzed by the physician during the Dashavida Pariksha according to Acharya Vagbada. And this is the version of Acharya Charaka. And as the Charakastu Chigilsa, the Chigilsa part, we mostly depend on the views or the opinions of Acharya Charaga. Let's take this Dashavida Pariksha into concern. So what are the factors that is to be analyzed in Dashavida Pariksha? They are Tasmat Aduram Pariksheda Pragradischa Vigradischa Saradascha Samhananascha Pramanadascha Satmadascha Satvadascha Ahara Shaktischa Vyayama Shaktischa Vayashedi Balamana Bala Pramana Vishesha Grahana Hedu. So these are the factors that is explained by Acharya Charaka in the context of Dashavida Pariksha. As we all know, this is explained in the 8th chapter of Vimanasthana and Rogabhishek, where Acharya explains all these types of Pariksha Bhavas, the Pariksha Bhava, Karana, etc. are all explained in this chapter. And here Acharya gives us 10 aspects or 10 angles through which we have to analyze the patient. So first of all, there are also another topics in our session which are Ashtavida Pariksha, Trivida Pariksha, Shadvida Pariksha, etc. is coming on the next session. So what is the importance of a Pariksha in the case of Panchakarma? See, Panchakarma is a treatment which is the most important, or it can be considered as a super specialty treatment, where the whole treatment of Shodhana is given a most prior importance. The patient, after analyzing through its all aspects, has to be gone for a nidana, then go for the nidana panchaka pariksha analysis, and then we'll go for the patient for the treatment. And with the whole treatment, shamana treatment, we'll go for the shodhana treatment when it is bhukdosha avastha. So this treatment panchakarma needs more care than any other aspects, because the treatment panchakarma, the patients that are allocated for the treatment of panchakarma are mostly patients with having bahudosha avastha, and also the chronicity of the disease will be also more to the dosha bahulya. So here the need of analysis, this pariksha, is very important, because very small type of errors can create lots of adverse effect in the case of panchakarma. Panchakarma is a treatment where the adverse effect is very fast acting. As we all know, the concept of vyabhat comes from there only. So the need of analysis of the patient in a clear cut, or the clear analysis of the patient for his whole concepts of dosha, dushya, avastha, etc. is very necessary in the case of Panchakarma. So the pariksha bhavas, or the importance of pariksha in Panchakarma, also gains importance. And moving on to our session, that is Dashavida Pariksha, we have Pragriti, Vigriti, Sara, Samhanana, Pramana, Satmya, Sattva, Ahara Shakti, Vyayama Shakti, and Vayaha. So coming on to the first factor, that is Prakriti. Prakriti means the body constitution, isn't it? Body constitution, also mental constitution is also come under Manasika Prakriti. I'll explain it later. And Vikriti. Vikriti means overall morbidity that is happening in the body, So Vikriti is that overall assessment of what is the concept of the disease that is manifested in the body, what is the root of the disease, what is the nature of the disease, how far the disease has been rooted to different ayanas with different astrayas and different doshas involvement. So Vikriti comes under the whole Roga Pariksha, isn't it? And first is Prakriti, it is second is Vikriti, next is Sara. Sara means it is the altogether the sum of the dhadus that we have in the body. Samhanana means our compactness, or what is the nature of the body, of our body. of our body. Then pramana means, pramana is the measurements, different types of measurements that is of our body, and also the measurements, the angula pramanas, as we all know, and the pramanas of different dhadus, everything was explained in Sharira Sthanas, and all we know about the different types of measurements or units that are considering, that are helpful for us to understand what our body is, what is the normalcy of our body is. This is the pramana. And satmya, which are things that are suitable for us. And we comes about satmya and asatmya things further on in Chigalsas also. So what is considerable, is suitable, it's considerable, it's optimal, is given by the concept of satmya. And next is sattva, right? Yet another very important factor, that is the mental strength or the mental capability or the mental aspects or the psychological aspect of the patient, that should be analyzed before the treatment. Next is Ahara Shakti. Ahara Shakti, this topic has been explained before also, because the topic was there, that importance of Koshta and Agni in Panchakarma, that has been taken by Dr. Anushree. In that question, we'll come across the detailing of this Ahara Shakti, because what happens is, what is the need of Agni assessment? See, Agni Jarana Shakti, we know that Agni assessment is coming on in the concept of Ahara Shakti. Next is Vyayama Shakti. As we all know, according to Charaka, Anumana Pramana, Vyayama Shakti gives the idea of Bala. Bala is through Vyayama Shakti. So, Vyayama Shakti of a patient gives the idea about what is the Bala of the patient in the body. What is the Bala of the body of the patient? Okay, what is the Bala of the patient? So, the innate Bala is assessed through Vyayama Shakti, and different types of Bala we all know, that is coming under the different types of aspects of Balas are also explained by Acharya. Next is the age or the Vaya. We'll go to each and every sessions and see what is the importance of Panchakarma and why we need a Panchakarma physician or a Panchakarma practitioner to be going on through each and every these facts for the selection and also analysis of the patient before the treatment. And the first aspect, it is the Prakriti. You know, the most important factor which we get to analyze in the clinics is Prakriti. Prakriti is explained as Prakritim Nama Janma Maranantarala Bhavini. Garbhavagradi Same Swakaranodrekena Janida. Nirvikarini doshasthiti. It is a nirvikara doshasthiti. It is an innate aspect or innate constitution of our body, which doesn't changes from birth to death. And different factors can influence it, but it doesn't change. The innate that factor or that constitution does not change. This happens when during the garbhadharana, that means the doshodrega avastha, udrega avastha of the dosha of the particular time of garbhadharana leads to the formation of prakriti in the child. To be very frank, this concept has got very clinical importance nowadays, because prakriti analysis tools are there, and we get the analysis of the analysis of the prakriti gives you idea about what type of treatment to be done, what is the nature of the patient. The manasika bhavas also is involved in prakriti, as we all know. This mental status of the patient, the preferable ideas the patient, preferable treatment types the patient could be given, the preferable types of diseases he may come, all can be analyzed by the concept of prakriti. A simple example, if a person is of vada prakriti, we know the patient is or a person is coming under vada prakriti and he's a patient of a neurological disorder, something like a vada vikara. The need of the emergency management is necessary, because the prakriti and the vyadi is similar. And if you go for the aspect of rasayana for vada prakriti person, we cannot wait for the madhyama vaya to end. It should be started early, because we know all these degenerative changes will come faster in the case of a vada prakriti person. So these aspects of or clues is very well understood in the concept of prakriti, and prakriti is that which factor which is explained by acharyas that is very connected or very nearer to our clinics. So the aspects of prakriti is elaborated by every acharyas that gives a clear picture of the patient when we come to the clinics. So usually the tools for the prakriti assessment, there are different tools, even apps are there for the prakriti assessment, is important in our clinical practice. So Prakriti is that one tool which you be used very importantly or very efficiently, or which gives a very clinical clues for the examination of the patient and the decision of the treatment. And overall, this is helpful for planning of the treatment in the patients, as I said in the case of Rasayanas also. So there are a lot of aspects that Prakriti gives, the ideas that Prakriti gives to the clinical practice. And if you go on to the Prakriti explanations of Acharya Charaka, there's a very beautiful or exquisite explanations regarding each and every dosha Prakriti with regarding to its gunas. Acharya explains this particular guna is going to happen, going to contribute this particular quality in the body of the patient. See, that also has a very great impact on the clinical practice. We can analyze that through which guna the particular thing is happening in the body. So these are the textual aspects or the clinical aspects will going on for the Prakriti analysis in a patient in general. Now we are going to on the some of the definitions. That is, according to Acharya Charaka, Tadhyada Shukra Shodada Prakriti, Kala Garbhashya Prakriti, Adurahara Vihara Prakriti, Mahabhuta Vigara Prakriti. The four types of Prakriti that is explained by Acharya: Shukra Shodada Prakriti, Kala Garbhashya Prakriti, Adurahara Vihara Prakriti, and Mahabhuta Vigara Prakriti. And as we all know, Prakriti is of two types also: Manasika Prakriti and Sharirika Prakriti, where Vata, Pitta, and Kapha type of Prakritis are explained. Dvandhaja Prakritis and Sannipadaja Prakritis are also explained. In the Manasika Prakritis, we have also Sattvaja Prakriti, Rajasa Prakriti, and Tamasa Prakriti. And on the basis of this Sattva, Raja, and Tama, there are subdivisions. This Acharya Sushruta has explained elaborately about the subdivisions of Manasika Prakritis also. So these are some of the basic knowledge about the concepts of Prakriti in general. And moving on to the concept of Prakriti in Panchakarma, why we should use the concept of Prakriti in Panchakarma. Moving on to the first session, that is for Snehana. This is in the matter of what type of sneha we should select for the snehana. The references of each and every point is available in the note, and also if I add all the references, the slides will be too big. So if you have any doubts regarding the references also, you can message me after the class, and I can give you the references of each and every concepts that is explained here for sure. And now I have tried to add only points, because every these 10 aspects will have Vada, Sneha, Sweda, 5 Panchakarmas. So I have added only the points. If you want the references, it is in that notes. And if you still have any doubts, please contact me. I can give you the references and explanations of each and everything for sure. So coming on to Snehana. Snehana, as we know, the selection of snehas is the basic thing. The selection of snehas based on Prakriti. As we know, the most preferable sneha for the Prakriti, that is Vada Prakriti, is Vata Prakriti. And so Prakriti. So the concept of Prakriti in Panchakarma. First of all, in the concept of Snehana, as we all know, for the Vada Prakriti, we know the most important Sneha is Taila. And for the Vada Prakriti, both Gritha and Taila will be used preferably. But in the case of Pitta Prakriti, the most preferable Sneha is Gritha only. So the selection of that Sneha is also dependent on the concept of Prakriti. The Prakriti of the patient has a role in deciding the Sneha which has to be given for the treatment, and also in the case of Swastha. Next is, what is the time we should give the medicine for the consumption. In the case of persons having Kapha Prakriti should consume Sneha in daytime, while Vada and Pitta Prakriti persons should take it at night. So here the concept of Prakriti is linked with what is the time for the administration of Sneha. As the before, it is the which type of Sneha is to be selected for the procedure, and this is what is the time. And next is in the management of Sneha Ajirna. As we all know, Sneha Ajirna is a Vyapat of Sneha Pana, where the use of Sneha, if it is not proper, it can cause into Ajirna Avastha. Without digestion can remain in the body. In this concept, we have to give medicines in order to vomit the particular Sneha in the body in order to clear it. Okay. So here, in the case of Sneha Jirna, in Pitta Prakriti persons, if it happens in the case of Pitta Prakriti, then we have to give cold water to drink. The cold water is beneficial for drinking. And in the case of Kapha and Vada Prakriti, hot water is to be used. This according to Ashtanga Sangraha. That is, one should use cold water for drinking or to vomit out the excessive sneha if complications of sneha ajirna appears in Pitta Prakriti persons, and but in persons with Kaba, Vada or Sama Prakriti, hot water should be used for vomiting out the remaining sneha from the body. So the Prakriti is also linked with the management, what type of management we have to give to the patient after the procedure. Next is in the concept of Svedana. Svedana, we all know that in the case of Pitta Prakriti persons, we usually Svedana is to be avoided. This can be seen in the clinical practice also. If we are going for a Svedana procedure, which for a Pitta Prakriti persons, we have to check the nature of the Sveda also, where it is a Mridu Sveda, Madhyama Sveda or Tikshna Sveda. If we go for a Pitta Prakriti person, the climate is also favorable to the Pitta Prakriti, that is a hot climate is there, then the most causes of adverse effect will be linked with this Prakriti and of course with the Svedana, because what happens is they have an innate capacity, the body temperature will be more and the reactions will be also more, and usually Pitta Prakriti persons mild Svedas is preferable. So ideally the Sveda should be avoided in Pitta Prakritis, or the modifications of Sveda or the modifications related to the Prakriti is also to be given to such type of patients. And according to the Tika, that is Chakravani Tika, who as quoted by H.S. Kaswala in Charakas Samhita, that is Ayushi commentary, this is a commentary. There, the Avagaha Dravya, that is the Avagaha means it is a type of Dravasvira that is indicated for the Pitta Prakriti persons. Okay. Pitta Vigaras, with the Pitta Vigaras, Avagaha or Parishega Sveda is indicated. There, the selection of the medicines is also to be made according to the Prakriti. For Avagahana Sveda, selection of medicines among milk, oil, grita, Mamsarasa or the decoction, that is Kashaya Kalpana, should be made according to the Prakriti of the patient. Next is for the Vamana and Virejana. As we all know, Vamana complications more will be for the Vada Prakriti persons. If the person is Kabha Prakriti and it's Kabhaja Vikara and the climate is Hemanta, it is the best combination for Vamana, and the patient is of Vada Prakriti, then utmost care should be taken in the case of doing the procedure and also selecting of the medicines, that is explained here. For Kabha Prakriti persons, strong purgations can be given as they are strong both physically and mentally. As we all know, Kabha is the best Prakriti, right? And here the physical and mental strength of the person is more compared to the Prakriti. And in case of Vada Prakriti persons, mild form of purification should be used to avoid the probable aggravation of Vada. In Vada Prakriti persons, what happens is if the Prakriti is Vada, and if the disease is also connected to some, if the disease has Kabha Anubandha with Vada, like that conditions is there, if we are forced to do a Vamana in a particular person, then utmost care should be there, because the Koshta may be mostly Krura. So what happens is all these type of complications of Vamana, Urdhva Vada or Pradilomya of Vada, different types of pain manifestations, that is colicky pain in the stomach, headaches of the procedure, everything can be more in the case of Vamana, in the case of Vada Prakriti persons. So the selection of the medicines based on the Koshta and the Prakriti is also important in the case of Vamana. Usually, where we use mild doses of medicines for the Vamana in the Vada Prakriti persons, and medicines like Vatsaga or Kudaja can be used for Vamana. With Sukha, Vamana will be an option for them. So irritating drugs, Tikshna Vamana drugs are usually contraindicated or not much used in the case of Vamana, in the case of Vada Prakriti persons, because it increases the chance of Vyabats also. And next is in the case of Virejana. Virejana is an ideal treatment for Pitta Prakriti. What happens is usually when we go for Ridusharya, we have to follow certain regimes. That is because we do some panchakarmas to maintain the normalcy of the body. In the Pitta Prakriti persons, the most suitable procedure for to be done, that is to be practiced, will be Virejana only. Because in the Pitta Prakriti, they have certain factors which is very unique. They have a hot feeling of hot every time. The body temperature will be more. There, some of the patients will have more skin manifestations will be more. If there is something like that hair baldness, hair issues, that means baldness will be more. Graying of the pinkish grain type of hair will be more, and also all these heat rashes, everything. These type of rashes, type of diseases in the hot climate, everything will be more in the Pitta Prakriti persons. Even there is variations with the blood pressure levels of their normals, everything. So this Virejana can be a very good treatment or a very good panchakarma for Ridusharya management for these patients. Not patients, even in the case of Swasthas, the Virejana gives them the best effect, the soothing effect. So the best ideal treatment that can be selected for Pitta Prakriti when affected by Pitta related diseases, it is the best treatment, the most optimal treatment, and the Virejana gives more importance to Pitta Prakriti persons also. And next is in the case of selection of the drug. As I explained, the case of Vamana, we have to select drugs in the case of according to the Koshta. According to the Koshta, Avastha drugs has to be selected. You have already studied it. And the Koshta is also dependent on Prakriti. In Vada Prakriti, mostly Krura Koshta will be there. Pitta Prakriti, mostly Mridu Koshtas will be there. So selection of the drug according to the Koshta and Prakriti is also important. Here in Vada Prakriti person, Snigdha medicines should be used for Virejana, as Virejanobaka for Vata Prakriti, Mridviga or Parushaka should be used, which not allow the elevate Pitta but also pacifies the Vayu. Because what happens is Vada plus Pitta has to be normalized here. In the case of Koshta, the Koshta, if the dosha has to be normalized, and Vada Analomana should be there. So when we are giving a Virejana, Pitta is the major dosha that is intended, and Vada Analomana should be there. So the medicines which has capability to elevate Pitta, not only elevate Pitta, but also to have an Analomana effect has to be selected for the Virejana in some these kinds of patients. In Kaba Prakriti persons, strong purgatives like Sudha, Snuhi can be used with Gomutra, Triphala, etc. Because they will be more ready to accept the effect of this medicines. Because what happens is they have mentally and physically more strong. So we can give Tikshna Virejana, Tikshna Vamana medicines to Kaba Prakriti, but comparatively the strength of the medicines will be less in the case of Vada Prakriti. Moving on to the Vasti, as we all know, in the Vasti we have to test each and every factor, because in the Vasti the each and every ingredients of the Vasti also have a role in the Prakriti, because in the preparation of Vasti, the dosage, the amount of the each drug, that is honey, oil, etc., when we are adding it, we have to consider the Prakriti of the patient also. So says the Samhitas. This preparation of the Niruhavasti is based on individual requirements, and the recipes of Niruhavasti, dosage of Saindava and Madhu is altered as per Prakriti, and many factors, as we all know, the Vigridi of the disease, and also what is the Bala of the patient, everything is taken into consideration. And even the Prakshepa Dravyas are selected according to the Prakriti of the person, thus it doesn't cause any other adverse effect. And in the case of Kaba Prakriti persons, Kaba Prakriti patient, honey should be mixed in more quantity in comparison to Vada Prakriti, and it's more suitable for Kaba Prakriti persons. The honey actually reduces the risk of, that is for the Kapha, and also the Sneha is for the Vada, as we all know. So its ratio depends upon the Prakriti also. The case of Nasya, also the Nasya selection of the medicine is also dependent on the Prakriti, because in the case of selection of medicines for Shirobhi we have to select according to the Prakriti, and also the management, this post Nasya management, like what type of Dhumapana is to be selected is also selected according to the Prakriti of the patient. And in the case of this is a tika which is said by Arunadatta, that is Ghrita is used for the purpose in a Pitta Prakriti persons, while processed oil should be used in Vada Prakriti persons. And in the case of Rakta Mokshana, according to the Rakta Mokshana, therapeutic, post-therapeutic diet, when explained, there is explanation that the Prakriti has to be considered here. And here, Mamsarasa, milk, that is Kshira and Yusha, should be for Vada, Pitta, and Kapha Prakritis respectively. Here, the reference is in the post-therapeutic management, that is in the Paschat Karma of the procedure, where the excessive blood is drained out. Then for the Paschat Karma after Rakta Mokshana, the advised food is according to the Prakriti of the patient. Next is Vigriddhi Pariksha. This Vigriddhi consists of all things that you have to consider in the Roga Bala. So, as we know, Vigriddhi means it is the abnormality or the pathological aspect that is happening in the body. Here, the dosha, dushya, and the srodhas, ashaya, sthana, avastha, all will be important. For example, in the case of Vada Ulbhana Avastha, we'll go for a Vasti. Where is a Pitta Ulbhana Avastha, we have to go for a Virejana. Where the Kapha Ulbhana Avastha, we have to go for a Vamana. And here the sthana is also important. Pakvashya is the Vada, where we need an anulomana with of three doshas. Pakvashya is the three dosha anulomana. We'll go for Vasti. Pakvashya is the Pitta Albana Avastha. We go for Virejana. Urasthida or Kabasthanasthida Kabha Ulbhana Avastha. We'll go for Vamana. So this is Avastha of the dosha, sthana of the dosha, and which asraya it is dependent also has its importance. And the concept of Srodhas, because in the each Srodhas we have separate medicines, etc. For example, the Pipali has increased effect in Rasavaha Srodhas. So, Rasayana effect is also there's a selection of the Srodhas is also important. In which Srodhas, which dosha, which dhatu is affected, then we'll go for the treatment. For example, in the case of Jwara, when we go for Vishama Jwara, in each dhatu, each type of Kalingaga, Padolasya, Patram Kadarohini is for the Rasagata avastha of Jwara, that is Vishama Jwara. And in the case of Kushta also, when the Kushta is situated in the Twak or the Rasadhadu, Rektadhadu, Mamsadhadu, symptoms will be different. So the each and every dosha and its dusha when it is affected has to be analyzed before the treatment. So this whole aspect we'll get from Chigilsa Sthana, and I cannot conclude the same in one slide because each and every aspect we have to go. All the contradictions, contraindications, indications, avastha, vidhana of the diseases, everything comes under the Vigriddhi Pariksha that has to be done in the case of Panja. All indications, contraindications, everything comes under Vigriddhi Parikshas of Panchakarma that should be done. Next is Sara. Sara is a concept that highlights the potency or the ability or the physiological effect of the physiological normalcy or physiological effect condition of the dhadus that is happening in the body. Sara gives a clue about which dhadu is good in your body or what is the effect of that dhadu and its relation with the mental. Some mental aspects are also being explained in the concept of Sara Pariksha. According to Acharya Charaka, the explanation of Sara goes like this. Saradashchedi Sarani Ashto Purushanam Bhalamana Vishesha Jnanartham Ubadishyadi. These 8 types of Saras is explained. That is Tuk Sara, which indicates mostly Rasadhadu. Twak, Rekta, Mamsa, Medha, Asti, Majja, Shukra, Sattwani, Sattasara is also explained. Totally 8 saras are being explained, 7 dhadus and Sattvasaras is being explained. So what is the importance of understanding this sara? We know that Twak, Rekta and Mamsa saras, Medha saras, these 3 saras are considered as Sugumaras. Okay. So the general Twaksara, Rektasara and Medasara people are Sugumaras or tender in health, while Mamsa, Asti, Majja, Shukra and Sattvasaras are strong by nature. So innately, this Sara, the analysis of the Sara in the body gives a clue that the person will be strong or weak. So strong procedures can be given in the case of the Sara like Astisara, Majjasara, Shukrasara, Sattvasara. But if we go for a procedure in Tvak, Rekta and Medasara, we have to consider the patient is vulnerable, can be Sugumara. So this has also to be considered while selecting the Mridhu Tikshna Avastha of the medicines and the nature of the procedures we are planning to. So Panchakarma procedures like Vamana, Virejana, Niruhavasti, Rektamokshana should be done cautiously in Tvaksara, Rektasara and Medasara persons because these procedures impose strong effects on the body. And the Medasara Mridu Virejana and the treatments like Niragni Sweta has to be selected. And Jaluka Vijarna, which is considered as Parama Sugubaro Bayam. Jaluka is considered as Parama Sugubaram, and Rektamokshana with Siraveda is as Sugumaro Bayam. So selection of this medicine, that is, even though we have to do a Rektamokshana, we have to select the most Sugumara or easy giving or easy comfortability of the patient, and comfortability to bear the treatment also has to be considered. So Jaluga like of treatment comes for the patients with Methosara. Next is the concept of Samharana. Samharana, as we all know, Samharana is synonymous to the word Samharana, Samhadi, Samyojana. It gives an idea about the body nature and like Stula, Adistula, Adikrisha, Krisha, etc. So in the Panchakarma concepts also, the Stula and Krisha, this is one among Ashtonindidi of course, also has great importance. That is, in the case of Stula and Krisha, when we are going for Panchakarma procedures, we can see that in most of the procedures, Adistula is contraindicated. For example, in the case of Snehana, Stula persons should be avoided because what happens is we can cause Srodhavaroda when and cause there may be chances of Adistula, that was excessive obeseness in them. So in those type of patients or those type of patients, if their diseases comes in the case of Stula, other than Stula also if some other diseases come, we have to go for Snehana. Then Rukshana has to be done. Rukshana means preparatory method, or it's a drying up therapy, that is to make the body prepared for Snehana, Purva Karma of Snehana, making the patient ready for Snehana. So Rukshana is to be selected to avoid the complications of Snehana. So Sthaulya is considered as a part of Samhana to be considered in the case of Snehana. And here Taila Snehabana is a choice for Stula. For as we all know, Grida Snehabana, Vasa, Majja and Taila are the Chadusnehas. And in the Chadusnehas, Taila Snehabana is selected for them. And for the Krisha, Brahmana Snehana has to be selected, and they has to be and it should be used in the Laghu Matras mixed with the Brahmana Matra mixed with the foot. Okay. And in the case of Swedas, similarly, Adistula is contraindicated for Swedana. In Stula, person Sweda is contraindicated as it liquefies the Medas and thereby causes disturbances in the body. As Stula, the Medhu Vilayanam will happen. And for them, that for Staulya, the Niragni Swedas are being explained. And the cause emergency, that is, they can go for Niragni Swedas than the normal Madhyama or Tikshna Swedas. In the case of Vamana and Virejana, Adistula and Adikrisha, who are cannot tolerate the effect of the Shodhara procedures. So Vamana and Virejana is advised for them, and it can also cause risk to them. So it should be considered. In the case of Vasti, Vasti has an effect as Krisho Brahmhedi, Stulo Karshedi. It has the both effect. So in a Meda Medohara properties is explained for Leghanavasti also. So in a general, Niruhavasti performs the action of Shodhana, Leghana and Snehavasti, Brahmana effect. So in the case of Krisha, we can go for the combination of Anuvasanavasti and doing excessive Niruhavasti is contraindicated in Krisha also. And as far as Tula is advised for Niruhavasti, and here the Niruhavasti, that Snehavasti alone cannot be done because it's a Brahmana therapy, so it cannot give Stula and Vasanavasti alone. The combination of Niruha and Anvasana can be given, but in the Krisha we cannot give the Niruhavasti alone, and in the Stula we cannot give the Anvasanavasti alone. And even though the Vasti has the property of Krisho Brahmayadi, Stulam Karshayadi. And in the case of Rekta in the case of Rekta the Samharana is very important because if you see the Rekta in Vadashonada, if the Angaglanam Natu Stravyam Ruksham Vadotaram Ched, if the patient has got a Krisha Avastha due to the disease or anything, then the Srava of Rekta can cause different dangerous effects in their life. So here the Rekta the Krisha is contraindicated. Similarly, the Rektamokshana should be avoided in the patient, perhaps less of that is Yuksham Badotaram and Angaglani is to be avoided. So the Krisha persons are to be neglected, to be considered here. So the body constitution or Samhana gains importance in Rektamokshana also. Next is the pramana. Pramana means it's the measurement. As I explained, pramana gives us the idea about what is the measurement. It can be the measurement of the body, that is angular pramanas of different, each and every angas, each and every body has got a measurement, isn't it, in angular pramana, and the amount is also is given in the Anjali pramana, that is rasa is this Anjali Pramana of Rasarekta, Dhatu, etc. is explained. So all these come under the Pramana Siddhanta. We have to analyze the each and everything on the based on the Pramanas. So if you are going for Pramana in the case of Panchakarma, Snehana, we first can we see that Droni or the Droni which we do the procedure, all the Bahya karmas and even the Panchakarmas, everything is carried out in the Droni. It is the massaging table. It's not a massaging table, of course. It is made up of different types of medicated woods according to the classical Ayurveda text, that is Plakshodam, Veragandha Sara, etc. is explained. And the measurements of this Droni is very important. That in the olden times it is explained that the droni has to be made individually according to the measurements of the patient. That is, according to the patient, the droni has to be prepared. And usually the ideal length of the droni, the panchakarma, should be 4 hastas and in the length and 1 hastas in width. See, this pramana is important to maintain a proper width, length, to facilitate all the procedure. The patient should be comfortable, and also the whole procedure should carry out in a very smooth manner. So the pramana, the importance of pramana starts from the first procedure itself, snehana, and the first important factor that is instrument that is we need in it is the droni itself. Here also, Acharya says the importance of pramana we have to take. And next is in the case of Swedana. In the case of Swedana, we can see that all the procedures of Swedana, almost all the procedures of Swedana, Acharya says that it has to be made according to the dimensions of the patient. For example, for the Ashmagna Swedana, the whole rock has to be in the dimension of the patient. So the procedure, consideration of Pramana is important for the Swedana process, Ashmagna, the preparation of rock, and also in the size of the patient, for the dimension of the patient, it is explained. In the case of Kuba Sweda, that is how depth the Kuba has to be made is according to the height of the patient. Length and depth as well as should be respective, and it is to be double and equal to the height of the patient. So the height of the patient is taken into consideration. Holagas Veda, Didiga is to be equal to the size of the bed of the patient. That means everything according to the dimension of the patient has to be made. It is not prefixed. So this gives you importance of pramana in Svedana. And next in the case of Vamana, the most important factor we can see is selection of the pramana that we should, what pramana we should give the medicine of Vamana. This Andhar Naga Mushti. This Andhar Naga Mushti will be different for each and every patient. So what is the Andhar Naga Mushti of that particular patient? That is the amount of Vamana Dravya, that is Vamana Dravya has to be given in this Andhar Naga Mushti pramana to the patient. So this is different for each and every patient, and so the Vamana Dravya pramana that should be given to the patient also differs. And the considering of the Vamana Pida, their height of the Vamana Pida, so Janu Samam, the length of the Janu is considered as the height of the Vamana Pida. So each and every patient, it will be different. So the height of the Vamana Pida has to be selected according to the height of the patient. So it is also dependent upon the pramana of the patient. In the case of Vasti, this is a very small description that I've said. It's very evident when we see that in Vasti, each and every aspect of Vasti is dependent upon the Pramana. First of all, if we go for Prastha, prastha, that is it is the prastha is considered as the Anjali Pramana. The Kunchita Anguli Pramanam is explained. The what that amount that is holded in the hands of the patient is explained as prastha by Acharya Delhana. This Kunchita Anguli Pramana of the Madhyama Hasta, a patient is considered as the prastha Pramanam. So it is dependent of the hand measurement of the patient. And if we go for the Vasti Netra, the each and every measurement of Vasti Netra, that is the base measurement, the length measurement, the length of the karnika, everything is dependent upon the patient's angulas, that is the little finger, big fingers considered as the base, little fingers considered as the arbra chidram, mula chidram, etc. Karnika length. Everything is dependent upon the measurements of the particular measure. So it is everything is based on the individual measure. It's customized to the particular patient, and also the prastha. And if we see the gudavarti, if the vasti dravya doesn't come out properly, we have to put the gudavarti. So here the gudavarti is also set as the anguli pramana of the patient. What is the anguli pramana of the patient? That is the pramana of the gudavarti should be used for the nirgamana of the vasti dravya. And all these gives an idea that each and every aspect pramana is important in the case of vasti. And in the case of Nasya, the matra of Nasya is based on the Bindu Pramana. So Bindu Pramana, the one has to dip his angula, and then we take the measurements drop by drop. So when the dropping of the how much amount of drops has been coming out from the finger of the particular patient will be considered as the Bindu Pramana for the particular patient. So what happens is the whole Bindu Pramana is considered according to the particular patient only. So it will be different for me and to you. So the patient specific, on the basis of the pramana of the patient, we have to select the nasya dosage, because that it will be bindu pramana will be different for each and every patient. And if we go for the churna nasya also, if we have to take a pinch, that is also different according to the patient by patient. So everything, it is based on the pramanas that the patient's fingers, the dosage differs from one patient to another patient. And next is in the case of Rakta Mokshana. As we all know, each and every point of Rakta Mokshana is based on what Anguli Pramana. If we go for a Rakta Mokshana, particular disease, say 4 angulas below the knee joint, 4 angulas above the knee joint, this Angula Pramana is that of not the physician, but is the Angula Pramana of the patient. So the Pramana is to be considered in each and every aspect for selecting the sites for Rakta Mokshana. So, localization of marmas or sites for Siraveda should be fixed individually, because every patient has different types of body suits. So, each and every patient Angula Pramana is different. So, the Marmasthana will be different. So, site of Rektamokshana will also be different. Here also, such measurements should be made according to the Angula Pramana as per the finger of the person. And moving on, now we have discussed about the pramana in Panchakarma. Now it is Satmya and its importance in Panchakarma. Satmya means what is comfortable, what is wholesome to them. So in the case of Satmya, we have two aspects, that is Satmya and Asatmya. That is compatible, or that is comfortable, or it is not comfortable. It's not should be used by the patient. In the case of Snehapana, Grida is considered about Satmya, because we are using Grida from time of birth. Ajanma, from the birth itself, we are using Grida. So the Satmya of Grida is explained like that. Grida is wholesome to all since birth, and for this reason, it should be used for the Sneha if in anyone. That is, it is considered as Uttama Sneha due to its Satmya Swabhava also. But other Snehas like Taila and Vasa should be used for Snehana only in those persons who are accustomed or consuming them. Because Sneha Satmeda is therefore Grida, because we use it from birth itself. And for the Shodhana, for the Achasneha Bana, should be given to those who are habituated to use it. If there is Satmya to Grida, we can go for Grida. If the patient is Satmya to Taila, we can go for Taila. Otherwise, the patient will not be tolerant enough to use the particular Sneha. And if we go for the Sneha Snehapana dosage, if you go for Acha Snehapana, we have to stop the Snehapana before it becomes Satmya. Because if it becomes like Satmya, it becomes like Ahara. Ahara is something which doesn't cause any difficulty in body. It is supposed to be good. But in the case of Acha Snehapana, we need a doshu utlesha. So what happens is when we go for the Snehapana, then the dosage has to be selected accordingly that the patient doesn't get the Satmya. Dose of Snehabana also depends on the wholesomeness or unwholesomeness of the person of a sneha. One who's habituated regular intake of unjust materials can give a superior dose of sneha, but the persons who are hateful, sneha dvisha, can be given only inferior dose. For a person having aversion to unjust sneha, any 24 type of pravicharnas can be given to that patient according to the satmya. What is the satmya according to him? And next is in the case of Svedana. If you go for Svedana, mainly in the case of Niragni Sweda, if a patient or a person is accustomed to a particular type of Niragni Sweda, say a person who has accustomed to wrestling for a whole time, it will not be a Niragni Sweda for them because it is one of the Satmya procedures. And if the person is Bahupana, who is a chronic alcoholic, then what happens is we cannot give alcohol to the patient, Bahupana to the patient as a part of Niragni Sweda. So the selection of the Sweda for a particular treatment purpose also depends upon Satmya. There are 10 methods of Niragni Sweda. Out of these procedures like Ushna Sadhana, that is the warm chamber, Adaba, Guru Pravarana, may not work well in the persons who are accustomed to these kinds of situations in daily life. If we give the Adaba Seva for a Niragni Sweda for a person who is every time working in sun. See, he's working in something like a hard laborer working outside for the whole day. This Adaba Swedas never will be an Niragni Sweda for them. So we have to select accordingly. In the same manner, if a person is a wrestler, there is Ahava, Vyayama, that is Adva, etc. Niragni Sweda will not suit for them if they are accustomed to it or Satmya to it in a daily routine. And in the case of alcohol also, according to Chakrabani Tika of Charakam Sutra, the persons habituated to take alcohol should not be subjected to Svedana even in conditions Vata and Kabacha disorders. And similarly, if the Niragni Sweda, if it is intended with Bohupana, then the alcoholics will not be the suitable option. Next is selection of Vamana and Virejana drugs. Here also, if the should if the giving a medicine that is Satmya to the patient for the Vamana, it will not produce any effect. This it will have an effect just like a food only. So the drugs which are not Satmya to the patient has to be selected. Drugs used for Vamana and Virejana should not be wholesome or Satmya to the patient as they get digested without eliminating the doshas. So these therapies should be used with the medicines of the patients who are not habituated according to Ashtanga Sangraha. That is, for example, some persons will have Virejana with Kshira, but a person who are habituated with Kshira in the day-to-day life, he uses Kshira for a long, for a increased amount, then Kshira will not cause Virejana. For example, small type of Virejana Aushadas will not affect in certain types of patients. For example, in the Krura Koshta, if we give a Mridu Virejana, if he is having it for a long time, it will not produce any Virejana to them. It is like medicine only. So sorry, food only. So giving the medicine for a long duration also can produce the Satmya effect to the person. And some alcohol-based formulations for Virejana has been mentioned that can be used in the persons accustomed to alcohol. The selection of the medicine, especially in the case of Madhatya, we can see these type of yogas. And next is the concentration in the Matravasti. Matravasti is the disease, it's a condition, in the conditions like most of the indications of Matravasti is liberal because we can do Matravasti with on a daily basis. That is can be given even in the children. And the case of Yabanavasti also, it is accustomed to elderly and also for the children. So these type of treatments, that is in the case of Vasti, that is Matravasti in the case of Anvasanavasti, and Yabanavasti in the case of Niruhavasti, is more easy to practice. That is the it is more easy for the practice and less restrictions are there. Vasti is used considering the satmya of the patient. Some patients are accustomed to daily exercise. That is, for example, in the case of Matra Vasti, where the strong digestive power is there, patient used to exercise daily. Yatyambu sigadamiva, that is the quotation that Acharya said. It is similar to that. We can give the Matra Vasti daily to that, so, like that of patients. And similarly, in the case of Yabanavasti, it has less, it can be used in the patients with any type of sapya. Just we have to avoid Vyayamam, Maithunam, Madhyam. There is a contraindications, use of alcohol, honey, physical exercise is contraindicated, and even it can be given in the Shishu and Vriddha. This also explain the consideration of Satmya for Yabhanavasti. You can go through it. Next is Sattva in Snehabana. The Sattva in Panchakarma, where next point is Sattva. We are considering Sattva. What Sattva means? Mental strength, isn't it? So, what is the importance of Sattva in a treatment? Half of our treatment based on the physical aspects, and half of the treatment based on this mental aspects. This comes very true when we go to clinics, because what happens is most of the diseases has its origin in mind, and half of the diseases has origin in the body. They usually has an interchanging effect. Acharyas also said Tapta Gadamiva. They used to transfer the taba of mana and sharira, used to transfer the taba, so that the disease has got a link with the manasika bhava and also sharirika bhava. In Panchakarma also, when we are considering a patient, not only the physique of the patient is to be considered, sattva or mental aspect of the patient is very important. Because what happens is, in each and every procedure, for example, in the case of Sneha Bana, we have to make a Sneha patients do an Achapana Sneha Bana. It's very difficult if the patient has no sattva bala, because during the digestion of the Sneha and Acha Sneha Bana, if you go for a higher dosage for Uttama Matra Snehabana or a Madhyama Matra of Snehabana, registering 12 hours or 24 hours, the patient has to suffer, has to go on or go through a particular stage during digestion where he gets arati, he gets mental irritation, headache, vomiting sensation. Patient may get some irritability, some nauseating feeling will be there. And every morning when the patient has to drink that particular sneha with that particular higher amount, all these need some mental strength. That is difficult for patients with less sattva. They will not use that sneha at all, and what happens is the whole effect of the treatment will be damaged. If the patient is, see, we gave a sadhya sneha or something like that. If we are going on for a procedure like Vamana, the patient has to tolerate the whole procedure with continuously cooperating with a physician for the procedure. If the patient is not cooperative to have that medicine, for Agandapana, if we are giving Kshira, he is not having that medicine. If the patient is not, he cannot, cannot be okay with having that medicine for Vamana. He cannot be okay for repeated vomiting and the tiredness for the procedure. We cannot do the procedure even though the disease is big in them. Similarly for Vasti, because we have to examine the whole area, we have to do the Kashaya Vasti. The patient has to go on and on to bathrooms and then come back and then have the food in a particular time. The patient is not cooperative, mentally is not strength enough to bear that particular treatment, then we cannot go on for the procedure. So the first and the foremost factor that one should consider in the kind of treatment of Panchakarma is Sattva, because the patient has to be cooperative, because each and every procedure of Panchakarma has its own risk factors, and also a particular pattern should be continued for the same. We cannot drop a snehapana in its fifth day with half snigdhada avastha, because the shodhana will not happen in a proper effect, and the sneha utklesha cannot be created by in the body by small amounts of sneha cannot be neglected. So the patient has to fulfill the till the end. Similarly, in the case of Vamana, Virejana, Avasti, Rakta Mokshana, Nasya, what happens is the patient cannot fulfill the treatment to its end with all its regimes. We cannot get the full treatment effect or the fruit of that treatment. So, the Sattva assessment or the mental assessment of the patient is very important. And the other side, the motivating of the patient, counseling of the patient for the particular treatment is also very important in clinical practice. So, coming on to the Sattva Pariksha or need of Sattva to be assessed in the case of Panchakarma, As I explained, selection of sneha and the type of sneha bana should be made on the basis of the patient. If the patient is not at all cooperative with having a bitter ghee, say you have to give tiktagam or mahatiktagam ghee for a patient is not having some nimbadi kashaya or mahatiktagam kashaya, then for sure, or 1 teaspoon grida is not he is not able or she is not able to have that 1 teaspoon grida as a part of treatment, then we cannot go for a patient for sneha bana with an adjust sneha, that's for sure. So the sattva or the mental willpower or the mental capability or the mental strength of the patient is also important. Selection of the sneha will be different. So that these type of patients, we cannot go for an extra sneha, we have to give a sadhya sneha, or we have to give a vijarana sneha, like that. The treatment modalities have seems to be different on the basis of sattva analysis. And in the case of Grita is some more palatable. Grita we can make the person to have. But if you go for Vasa and Majja Snehabana is too difficult. Even though we give a small amount of Vasa and Majja to the patient, if we are going on for a Snehabana with Vasa and Majja to a patient with less Sattva, cannot have it because Grita and Taila may be little more easier. But Vasa and Majja, the patient is heavy to digest, so tolerant or the withstanding person can only have this type of sneha for the snehabana. So selection of the sneha will be important. And going on to the superior dosage of snehabana, because sneha jiryamana lakshana, sneha jirna lakshana, that difficulty the patient faces during the digestion is also to be faced by the patient only. So this sattva, the mental strength is necessary there to cooperate with the treatment. And if you go for the Swedana procedures like Jandaga Sweda, it is clearly explained that the patient has to be mentally stable or physically cooperative, strong and mentally strong to undergo the procedure. Otherwise, if he fails, he cannot come out of the murcha, and maranam is the next thing that is he going to face. So selection of Sweda, like higher Tikshna Swedas when selected to these other patients has to be considered. In the case of Vamana and Virejana, if there is Bhaya, Shoga, the medicines will not digest because all these has role uh, in pravartana of the doshas from the body. Going on for a Vamana, if the patient is not at all cooperating, we cannot give the medicine and let him to vomit. And also in the case of Virejana, Paga should go on. The patient is going on to Kama, Krodha, Bhaya, etc. The proper effect of the medicine will not come in the body. So for all these things, the mental factors has to be considered according to Acharya Charaka, Siddhasthana. That's a quotation from them. And in the case of Vasti, there is a beautiful reference where Acharya Susruda, it's a reference for Susruda Chigilsa, where he says that the Vasti can be Mridhu, Madhyama, and Tikshna according to Sattva of the patient. The patient is Mridhu Sattva, the patient can cooperate only little, then go for a Mridhu Vasti, Madhyama Sattva, Madhyama Vasti, etc. And also in Iruha and Anuvasana Vasti, this like of mental factors like fear, anger, grief, etc., can cause adverse effect and discomforts in the patient. Next is in the case of Nasya. Nasya, the most treatment that need to be a little more complex, little more severe or difficult is the churna nasya or shirovirejana nasya mainly. So in those type of patients where the shirovirejana nasya has to be done in biru, it is too difficult. So Acharya has explained that shirovirejana nasya should not be done with powdered medicine. There is a prathamana nasya when done in biru, it is too difficult. Then oil, instead the oil should be prepared with that and then to be used. So this is all considered on the cooperativeness of the patient towards the procedure. Next is in the case of Rakta Mokshana, as I explained, Sugumara, Parama Sugumara will be there. And Jaluka is considered as the best medicine or the best treatment option for the Parama Sugumarobaya, and where Siravedha is Prachana and Siravedha is Asugumara, Alabu and Ghadi Sringa is considered as Sugumarobaya. Parama Sugumarobaya is Jaluka. So we have to select the treatment accordingly to the sattva of the patient also. Next is Ahara Shakti. As I explained, this concept has been explained in the context of cooperation. Koshta and Agni. What is the Ahara Shakti is an indication of Agni Pariksha in the body. To brief us, this Agni Pariksha is required in each and every aspect of Panchakarma. For example, we are going for a Snehana. We were going for a Snehana. We have to select what is the Sneha according to the Agni Shakti of the patient. He's got good appetite. We can go for Vasa and Majja. If the patient is of less appetite, when we have to select Sneha dose accordingly. And if the Agni Shakti is not, that is Dibana has not happened, then Dukshana should be done for certain type of patient. So for Snehapana, before Snehapana, one should assure that Deepta Agni is there for Snehapana. And during the Snehapana also, the factor we should consider for Samyak Snigdha Avastha Deepta Agni. So the Agni has to be considered there. Selection of the Sneha Agni has to be considered. Time of Snehabana. For example, in Shodhananga Snehabana, if you are giving a medicine for Shodhananga Snehabana, we have to give the medicine before the Agni happens, because we are going for Utklesha. And if the Shabananga Snehabana is considered, we have to give the Sneha when the Agni has come. That is the patient when feels hungry. That means here the Agni should be normal in order to digest the medicine and to give the effect. So each and every aspect of Snehabana is related to Agni, isn't it? And also in the case of Sweda, what happens? The effect of Sweda in the body is Agni Deepti. Sweda causes the Agni Deepana, Shamananga, Sweda, Bhala, that is explained by Sushruta and Alhana commentary, Shamananga Sweda. Here they explains that Agni Deepti is the effect. And also for the procedures like Vamana and Virejana, if we consider, here also the Agni is to be considered. For example, for Vamana and Virejana, Samsarjana Krama is followed to normalize the Agni that decreases due to the procedure. In the case of Vasti also, the effect of Vasti is also analyzed with the help of Agni Deepti. In the case of Anvasana Vasti, we are going on for the Anvasana Vasti. The patient is getting Agni, the Anvasana Vasti does not come out of the body. There the Agni has to be considered, because if the Agni Mandada is there, then the Utklesha is happening. Then you have to go for Tikshna Vasti to let out that Anvasana Vasti from the body. This Anvasana Vasti also increases the digestive fire of the body. And also in the case of Niruha Vasti, where the Agni is not much hampered, but also their food should be given. Otherwise, the Vasti medicine will go, that Urdh Kavana will be there. So in each and every aspect, this Ahara Shakti is very important, or the Agni concentration is very important. So what all concepts have been gone on through the Agni and Koshta concept in the before classes can be added in Ahara Shakti. And next is Vyayama Shakti. Vyayama, as we all know, Vyayama means it is an indicator for analyzing the bala of the body. Bala means strength of the body. So Vyayama Shakti can be divided into Uttama Vyayama Shakti, Madhyama Vyayama Shakti, and Hraswa Vyayama Shakti. And this bala gives you an idea of what is the bala of the patient. The patient has Uttama bala, Madhyama bala, or Avara bala. This gives an idea of what type of Snehana or any other procedures to be opted. If the patient has good bala, then he has to go for Uttama Matra Snehabana. Madhyama bala, Madhyama Snehabana. If Avara bala, then Avara Snehabana has to be selected. In the case of Sneha, for Shodhana purposes, is contraindicated very weak persons. The bala is very low, we cannot go for a Snehana in these type of patients. And also the chances of Vyabat will also be more in them. In those type of patients, when bala is very less, we have to go for Sadhya Sneha. And in the case of Taila, is the Sneha of choice, who's willing to have strength in the body, and Vasa should be given in the patient of Uttama Bhala. And the Atta Snehapana is to be given in the patients who are cannot withstand the upward effect of Snehapana. So on the basis of Uttama Bala, Vasa can be selected. Taila, who's wanting of the Sharira Bala, and also Acha Snehapana or Sadhya Snehapana. Sadhya Sneha for less bala, and Acha Sneha bala for the patients who has got Uttama bala can be selected. And in the case of Swedana also, Acharya has explained 3 types of Sweda: Mridhu, Madhyamam, and Tikshna Sweda on the basis of the body strength. The Uttama Sweda like Jandaga Sweda, Kudi Sweda, cannot be given in the weak persons because Sangara, Nadi, Sweda is suitable for them. So on the basis of the strength of the patient and also the strength of the Sweda, selection has to be taken. And in the case of very weak patients, tired patients, if they are very weak, then we have to avoid the Sweda because it can go to Kashya. The case of Vamana and Virejana, very weak patients, we will not select for Vamana and Virejana because it is contraindicated and this can cause the bleeding. Urdhva, the recta pravarti is the contraindications or the contraindicated reason for doing the Vamana and Virejana in this type of Sugumara patients. In the case of Vasti, if the Durbalo Avirechya sa Niluhe Rubajarit is a cross that is explained in the case of Vada Vyadi. The patient has got excessive weak, then the elimination of doshas, which is not possible by Virejana, has to be done by Vasti according to Acharyas. And also, in the case of Niruha Vasti, Tikshna Niruha Vasti, if it is done in the very weak patients, it can cause to complications like Hikka and Shiro Arti. In the case of Nasya, when we go for Nasya in patients, the first thing we have to select. Sorry. Sorry. So in the case of Nasya, we are selecting the Nasya. We have to select the drugs of the Nasya. I'll explain the later in the Kalpana for the Nasya. That what type of Kalpana we have to select. If that is a Nasya, we have to give the patient with a good strength. We can go for a Prathamana Nasya. Or if the patient is of less strength, then we have to reduce the dosage and also the dasya like Pradimarsha has to be selected because this can be okay to the patient. Otherwise, the harmful effect or sorry, the adverse effect will be there for the procedure. So, how bearable is the procedure to the patient and what is the intensity of the procedure, Laghu, Madhya or Tikshna? That should be analyzed by the physician before selection of the procedure in a particular patient. In the case of rectamokshana also, repeated rectamokshana is avoided in the weak patients. As a general rule, excessive amount of rectamokshana should not be done. If a weak person, if there is excessive doshas in the body, then it can be drained out repeatedly in that evening or the second or the third day, and in this time the repeatedly we have to give sneha bana, internally sneha has to be done. So similarly this implication can be seen in the vada shodada, where vada shodada we have to give a recta mokshana, the recta has to be let out for the proper recta shodana and also to maintain to decrease for the shamana of the disease. But here the anubandha dosha is vada, so the acharya has explained alpalpam vada paripalanam, the vada has to be modulated or the visheshana of vada has to be considered, and also alpa sraved rectum. So this type of treatment has to be selected, this type of options has to be selected when we select the procedures in weak persons. So vada vritti should not be done because all the procedures some or the other way panchakarma procedures are lengana procedures. So what happens is the vada may aggravate in the body of the patient causing its destruction. So the bala of the patient, according to the bala of the patient, the selection of the procedure and its intensity has to be done. And next is via. Via, of course, is a very important factor which we select, which we have to consider for every procedures because the consideration of procedures like Kabhala, that is 5 years, below 5 years, that is Dhumabana from 18 years, everything we have a time gap, 10 to 17, Shodhana, that is 10 to 17 years, that is different types of age groups for a particular procedure. And also the selection of the medicine is also important. In the case of Snehapana, Sadhya Sneha is given in the children, and usually in Kshirapa, Snehana is not required. Their Kshira is having in the daily, so the prior Snehapana is not required in these type of children. And in the case of Kukunaga, if you see, Kukunaga is a disease of children according to Acharya Vagbada. So here, when the Shodhana is necessary, no Snehapana is necessary. And also, if we are going for Shodhana, we are intended for a Shodhana in the child, we have to give Shodhana for the mother only. Then through the Kshira, the child will be, of course, free from the disease. The Sanya Drushti, etc., will go for treatment like that only. So there is a different options for selecting the treatment methodologies in the cases according to Vaya. and in the child sustaining on solid food can be subjected to vamana after giving him peya added with ghee. Small type of palatable food can be given in case of children that can be very comfortable to them. The treatments like swedana, where Kashyapa Acharya has explained two extra type of swedana for children, that is padasweda and hastasweda. The age of 4 months, padasweda, that is pada means cloth, swedana with cloth is being explained, and hastasweda at the age of till the age of 6. This with the hand we can give the Svedana. So the selection of the Sveda and also the methodologies will be different. In the Kerala Vishesha Chikitsa, we have different types of Svedana we can give into children. That is with small cotton, we have to heat the cotton first and then give the Svedana in the children. According to the need of the children, we have to modulate the Sveda similar type. So there were small modifications in every procedures in order to satisfy the need of the children and also to considering their age, their body constituency, etc. Okay, and next is in the case of Vamana and Virejana. Ideally, Vamana and Virejana is contraindicated in children and elderly as because their dhatu is aparipurna. In the case of children, the aparipurna dhatu will be there, and the elderly will be weak in order to hold the effect of the procedure. So, in case of Dushti, etc. If the child is affected to a particular disease, then mother will be given the medicine, and then the child will get its effect through the Shodhana Stanya. In the case of elderly, most of the procedures are contraindicated because they cannot withstand the strength of the procedure. And also mild forms of this procedure, that is Sthana Lebana with Radha Pushpi is explained in the Tanudushti. Radha Pushpi means Madhanavala. So Sthana Lebana with the medicine, and after that drinking of the milk by the child, that causes a vomiting of that milk. So what happens is this gives an effect of shodhana. So these type of small methods are also explained by acharyas in particular concept, particular chapters, in order to facilitate the effect of shodhana when needed in excess. In the case of Vasti is a treatment where Acharya has explained the case of it can be done even for children. That is Shishu Vruddha Yuna, that is explained the case of Yabana Vasti. And for Pradimarshan Asya and Matra Vasti, it is explained Ajanma Maradam Shastam, Pradimarshastu Vastivan. So this can be given in children from birth to until to death. So these type of Vasti and Pradimarshan Asya has got this unique effect that can be given in any age. But the consistency, there is consistency in the matter, the ingredients, the nature, the medicine, and its role will be different in each age group. So it has also a role in Vayastabana also. There is